Hey, and welcome back to an episode of Tako Talk. I am here with my friend Ricky Powell, and we're going to help you and your loved ones deal with bullying issues. That's what the show is all about. It's an anti-bullying show, here to help you and here to help the people. You know, we have people on our show that all of a sudden, for the first time, right here live, start revealing stuff that they've never talked in public about. Right. And so it's almost like, even though I'm not a therapist, but it's almost like just, sometimes listening to somebody else or having somebody be able to talk to, just what's on their mind. Sometimes it's a great way to release a lot of the stress and a lot of these feelings, and you start sorting stuff out on your own. So hopefully with this show, those of you at home, you can, or at the office, you can start thinking about some of the issues that you're dealing with, and watching the shows. A lot of our guests will go ahead and relate to some sort of issue that you've got and help you through it. So we've got Ricky here, and Ricky, now you've been well documented as a bully in your school, and now just checking.
Right. I was.
You was, yeah. Okay, Ricky, I wanted you to talk about your book a little bit. So we're kind of jumping right in. He's a fellow author. And went to his book signing, which is a nice big party. But tell us a little bit about what got you involved with the book, and how it was that you came about writing it, and then tell us a little bit about the story. He was telling me a little bit during the break about when you were a child,
right?
And then also he's a repeat victim, if you will, that somebody nailed you again as an adult,
right?
So anyway, go ahead and tell us about the book.
Well, jumping right into the book, and it kind of goes to what I feel is that there are no coincidences, right?
Right.
I feel like everything happens for a reason, and the reason I wrote the book was actually due to my workplace bullying experience. And I work at NBC. I've been there for 24 years now. I've been in entertainment forever. I was an actor growing up, as you know.
Yeah.
My first 9 years at NBC were very challenging because of this workplace bully that I worked with. And it was an interesting situation because he was staff. He had been there several years before I arrived.
So he wasn't like the head of NBC?
No, not at all. Not only wasn't he the head of NBC, he wasn't even my direct supervisor. He wasn't my boss, really. Wasn't reporting to him.
Yeah.
But we worked in the same edit bay. So we were in the same sort of, facility together.
Right, so he had access to you.
Exactly. And I can get along with anyone. No question about it. I've worked with every type of person, and I'm just that type of guy. I mean, I love to please and to serve, and that's what I'm about.
Yeah, that's why we get along so well.
It is. And so I always wanted to make sure he was good and happy and all of that. And the thing was, he really wasn't. He enjoyed being that bully. He really took joy in tormenting other people. And for 9 years I dealt with that, Stephen. It was so tough. And it wasn't like he was only bullying me. He was bullying... I called him an equal opportunity terrorizer, if you will. I mean, it didn't matter if you were a runner or the VP of a division. He would still pick on you and be verbally abusive and things like that, with a little pathological lying thrown in.
How does somebody like this, and it's the age-old question, how does somebody like this keep their job?
Right. Well, he had done a very good job convincing them that they could not get along without him. I don't think this could ever fly today, really. I think things have changed so much. I mean, we're talking, 24 years ago. And things have changed so much in that span of time that I don't think that could happen today. Back then, though, it did. And it was very unfortunate. And people used to ask me all the time, how do you put up with that? How can you work with that? And my attitude really was, you know what? I am not going to let him bully me out of the best job I've ever had. I mean, I loved it there. at the time, and it was certainly the most success I had had behind the camera, and I was building my career there, and I was not going to let him push me out the door. So,
Right.
ironically, in an effort to try and help him, I picked up my first book on the subject of happiness, and it was to try and help him. I wanted to learn all I could about the topic, and then kind of, back my way into helping him. And of course, he wanted nothing to do with it, because there are people out there who enjoy playing the victim.
Right.
Even though they're the bully, they enjoy playing the victim because it brings drama and everything with it, and they like people to feel sorry for them or whatever the case may be. And although he wanted nothing to do with it, I took the subject and ran with it. And it was the best thing I ever did. I read every book on the subject of happiness and how to get through things and all of that. And eventually I ended up writing Happiness Rocks, my own book. And as you know, I have a whole platform on it. And it's not just about happiness, but inner peace as well.
Yep. I have a signed copy at home.
You do? You were there. You were there that fateful night.
Well, talking about the guy, and we all know that there are people who, as you mentioned, like to be victims. Now, nobody's going to say, oh, I like being a victim, and yet they allow themselves to continue being in the victim role. And bullies themselves are really victims. They're just kind of passing it on.
Right.
Every bully that's out there, that they're not coming from a well-balanced family life. If they're a kid, that they don't have mom and dad that are, just like making sure they're spending a lot of quality time with their kids. That there's some sort of dysfunction going on, whether it's from the parents, whether it's from the siblings, an uncle, the perverted gardener. There's something going on, to make that kid be the bully, and so they're really a victim. And so like people say, they're talking about different bullies out there, like, oh, that person should rot in jail, or that person, should blah blah blah, all this terrible stuff for this bully, without really taking a look, that's another human being.
That's right. So as I was saying, you never know what someone's story is, and it is so important to keep that in mind when you do come across a bully. Just don't necessarily judge them on what they're doing to you as opposed to what they may have gone through themselves. And here's a really big one. As hard as it may be, you cannot take it personally. And of course, that's our instinct is to take it personally and feel like they're attacking us personally.
Right. Now, when you have a low self-esteem, that's when it affects you.
Yes.
If you're not happy, right? If you're not happy with yourself, and then somebody starts saying, you know what, you're like you're a loser, right?
Exactly.
Then all of a sudden you're like, gosh, how did they know?
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, gosh, then maybe I am a loser, and then particularly with like the cyberbullying, we've had a couple of teens on the show recently that have been talking about the cyberbullying,
right?
And Tara Nicole Azarian and Faith Jefferies, both are victims to cyberbullying, and it's almost like I think it's almost worse when you're reading it. Right? Because you don't know the tone and all that stuff.
Right.
So when you read the stuff, you always assume the worst tone. But when you read something, it's going through your mind over and over again. And I think that's a little bit more dangerous. But going back to the bullying that you had with this guy, so this guy was really good at what he does, and so management was just kind of like overlooking the complaints about him because hey, at least he's getting the job done.
Right, exactly. And a lot of people weren't in a position, myself included, to feel like they even could complain about him because of the different statuses of workers, right? So I was considered a daily hire, whereas he was staff, and so you feel inhibited almost to come forward. And I was actually asked that very question finally when push came to shove.
Right.
I just knew that I could never fully trust him because of so much stuff he did early on. I started documenting everything. You know, today he did this, today he told that lie, blah, blah, blah. And I ended up having over 200 pages of documents.
Wow.
Yeah. And he may very well still be there had he not lied and tried to get me fired. And so when they came to me, they were just going to take whatever he said at face value. And they were ready to just get me out. And then that's when I said, no, this is going to stop right now. If you're interested, here's what I've got. And they did. And that was it. And he was gone.
Did anybody else at the company leave because of this guy?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So a lot of people basically gave up their jobs.
I don't know about a lot, but it, you know, that had happened. And he tried on his own to get rid of so many people.
But it's very time consuming to retrain somebody new.
Oh, absolutely.
New,
sure it is. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's part of my platform too. Is I go into corporations now with because there's a whole corporate culture of happiness based on the Zappos model, and it's all about having employees working for you in your company who feel supported and are engaged and basically thrilled to be working there, because everyone knows that happy employees drive the bottom line. Lower absenteeism and lower turnover rate and less money spent training and all of that.
Right.
And just higher productivity.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. Very good advice. And I would say, let's just say we've got some viewers out there that are struggling right now because they're in your where you were. You know, so what I'd like you to do is go ahead and offer some advice. So like if anybody out there right now, if you're dealing with something at work where you're just like, you hate going into work because you can't stand the boss or your coworker or somebody that's bullying you, making you, I would say making you feel bad, because nobody really has that right to make you feel anyway. But because of that other person's actions, you are feeling bad about yourself. What type of advice could you give our friends out here who are currently dealing with work-related bullying issues?
Well, I think the main thing is that you've got to get support from somewhere. You really need help. You need to get help. Don't try and go through this alone. Whether you reach out to a friend or family member or a colleague or someone, it's very important to have someone to talk to and get feedback from. And again, nowadays at work, the laws and the rules have changed so much, and they really are there to protect you as the employee. And there are whistleblower laws now that really protect you from coming forward if you do want to do something like that. So, there's all of that. And I would again also say, try not to take it personally. Realize that it is the bully, him or herself, who has the problem, not you. It's their problem. And you can't feel badly without allowing them to do that to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Giving permission.
Yes, you have to give them permission in order to make you feel bad. Don't do that. Don't give them that permission, because it's just, remember that you really can be strong, and you are strong, and don't let anyone bully you.
Hey, Ricky, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. Greatly appreciate it. Folks, if you've got anything going on at your company, workplace, where you're feeling bullied, go ahead and first of all pick up this book, because your attitude in life and your job is going to dictate how much of a victim you're going to be, and you don't want to play that role. So it's not a good role to play. Happiness Rocks is a great book. Where can you find this book?
Lifelonghappiness.com is my website. You can just click on store, and if you purchase it that way, I'd be happy to personally sign it for you and send it out. Otherwise, it's at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com.
Beautiful,
Right.
Beautiful. So pick up a copy for yourself, coworker, and and just be happy. Just really think about being happy. And you guys, thanks so much for tuning in to Tako Talk, and love you all. You guys are worthwhile, and I appreciate you very, very much. You guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Stephen.
You bet.
Bye.